Shalom again, this is Stuart Dowerman from Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. And today I want to continue with you on a series I've been doing on the foundations of Messianic Jewish worship. And today I want to talk about the fourth foundation, which is Moolah, cash, gelt, money. You'd think that that's kind of an import from televangelist talk, but really, in the book of Ezra, which goes back way before there were ever televisions or televangelists, we read that when the children of Israel came back to Jerusalem to reinstitute worship there, one of the things that happened is that the people gave generously. As a matter of fact, you find in the Tanach, when the tabernacle was built, the people gave generously. When the temple was built, the people gave generously. The first temple, when the second temple was built, the people gave generously. When the city was rebuilt, the people gave generously. It was a sign of their spiritual health and of their faith that they gave. So, in terms of spiritual renewal for our congregations, one of the signs of a healthy congregation is healthy giving. And one of the signs of a congregation that's in spiritual trouble is deficient giving. Now, I want to say one thing. It's none of my business what you give. It's nobody else's business what you give either. I'm not here to meddle. But it is my business to tell you that you should give. Because giving is a sign of spiritual health and maturity. So, we're going to look at a number of 8 characteristics of how we give. And I'd like you to think about it. I could say more, but people have a limited tolerance for that kind of stuff. So, let's go on. First of all, you should give out of policy, not out of whim. And by the way, I get these principles out of 2 Corinthians, the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 8 and 9. It's a gold mine, pardon the pun, a gold mine about giving. 2 Corinthians 8 and 9, also 1 Corinthians 16. But getting back to this, you should give as a matter of policy, not whim. Just as you get a certain number of hours of sleep as a matter of policy, you eat a certain number of meals a day as a matter of policy, you brush your teeth as a matter of policy, you should give as a matter of policy, not a matter of whim. A person comes into a congregation and says, I got a few extra bucks in my pocket, I'll throw it in the plate. And then for 6 or 7 weeks they don't feel like giving, so they don't. You can't run a congregation that way, and you're not meant to. It's not the way we're supposed to give. We're supposed to give as a matter of policy, not a matter of whim. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 is our giving should be proportionate to our means. A person who's very wealthy may be able to give 20%, 25%, even more. There used to be a man named R.G. Letourneau. There's a school in Longview, Texas, named after him. He made his millions in the construction business, millions and millions. He was a very sincere Christian, and he gave 90% of his money away. Can you imagine? 90%. He was still a millionaire. He realized he didn't need it all. But giving is proportionate to our means. Some of you are just barely getting by. Don't feel you have to give 10%. Tithing is a nice principle, a guideline, but it's really not mandatory in the New Testament sense. And give in a manner proportionate to your means. This is not meant to be an escape hatch. It's meant to give you some freedom. If you can't afford to give much, don't give much. If you can afford to give much, give much. Simple. Number 3. Let's see. Give until it feels good. Some people would say give until it hurts. I don't think that's a good way to talk about giving. I don't want to tell you, I got a good idea. I can tell you how I can make you hurt. I'm not going to do that. But give until you feel good about yourself. Give so that you walk out of a congregation, you say, I only gave X, Y, Z today, but it was all I could really afford, and I'm not ashamed of myself. I feel pretty good about what I gave. That's the way you should give. People who never give, people who are snorers, people who just have gotten in the habit of letting somebody else take care of them, are not going to be people who feel good about themselves. They don't have any self-respect. Give in a way that feeds and nurtures your self-respect, but not for the approval of others. It's between you and God. And give until it feels good, until you feel good about yourself. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, give out of relationship. You don't just give like you're a member of a club or something. This is not a club. The people of God is a family. And we give out of relationship to take care of one another, to meet each other's needs. And also we're part of a family of people who believe as we do. We're part of a wider family of people even who don't believe as we do. People who are part of the human family. We give out of relationship. We don't give mechanically. If I don't give out of relationship, I have to ask myself, am I treating people just like means to my ends? Do I have any relationship with anybody? Do I care? So, give out of relationship. Number 5, coming up. Give out of responsibility. If you're an adult child of God, you have a responsibility to take care of the needs of the family. Irresponsibility is not a virtue. Letting somebody else do all the taking care, it may be less expensive, but it's costing you something. It's costing you self-respect. It's costing the quality of your relationship with God. It's costing the quality of your relationship with people. Give out of a sense of responsibility. It's my responsibility to help, and I will help to the degree that I'm able. I will help, and don't let anybody guilt trip you about this. This is a terrible thing to do. Number 6, giving is a manifestation of sacrificial worship. In the Older Testament, you see people sacrificing, even before the Jews got to Sinai, before the book of Leviticus. You find Abraham offering sacrifices. You find Job offering sacrifices. You find Cain and Abel offering sacrifices. But did you ever think of the fact that these sacrifices are costly? They're giving their best breeding stock. They're giving spotless animals. They're giving the best they got. Giving has always been a matter of sacrificial worship. There's a story about King David. He wanted to erect the Aron Kodesh, the Ark of the Covenant, on the threshing floor of a man named Araunah in order to stop a plague that God had brought upon the children of Israel as a discipline for King David and his foolishness. And Araunah offers King David the threshing floor for nothing. I mean, David's the king. He says, Your Majesty, take it. Take it, it's yours. And David says, No. He says, I will not offer the Lord that which costs me nothing. Does your relationship with God cost you nothing? If it doesn't cost you anything, then I have to ask you, how valuable it is to you? What does it mean to you? How precious is it to you? Our relationship with God should, above all other things, cost us something because it's our highest value. So I'm not ashamed to talk to you about sacrificial worship. That's the way it's always been, and I can't change the rules for you, even if you wanted me to, which I don't think you would. Number 7, giving should be unconstrained and joyful. We read in 2 Corinthians that God loves a cheerful giver. Don't give under coercion. Don't do God any favors. He doesn't need your money. God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He gives to all men life and breath and everything. He's not looking for a handout. Don't help him out. Give unconstrained and joyfully. There is something beautiful about a person who has the freedom to be generous. Generosity is a sign of freedom. Give in an unconstrained and joyful way. Do not give out of guilt. If you can't afford to give right now, don't be ashamed. God is not the God of shame. Finally, number 8, your giving should be a sign of maturity. We have to teach our children to share their toys because generosity doesn't generally come naturally to us. But giving, participating, being part of the backbone of your congregation, because of the regularity of your giving. Not necessarily the size of your giving, but the regularity of it forms a backbone. It's a sign of maturity. I know you want to be mature. I know you're good people. And I hope that these 8 principles, which come largely from 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and chapter 9, have been helpful for you. And I hope that in your giving, you'll be helpful for your congregation. God loves you. He loves a cheerful giver. So let's get with it, okay? So long for now, from Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. Shalom.